me tonight. They got to see me.
I think if you got a guy like that, you build like that, 6'4", you got to trust.
Everybody watching tonight. So I tell you what, if you get fired into the next, you're in the wrong business. We control this. We run this. And anybody coming out of the house,
they got Jordan Davis last season. They bring Fletcher Cox back in Philly. So I'm sitting there like, we need to put something on this offensive line to combat that. What's going on? Welcome back, everybody. The Dallas Cowboys fall short in Philadelphia, losing 28-23 in what was a very, very close football game. Had their chances at the end, but just couldn't prevail, man. Talk to me a bit about how you're feeling after this game.
Honestly, not too bad. I think it was a hard-fought matchup like we all expected going in. And really, I think everything we wanted to do or wanted to see, I think I saw that for the most part. Like Dak Prescott, honestly, he continued this hell of a stretch that he got going on. Over 80% completion percentage as well. He continued to ball out. CD did CD things. We seen some more Jake Ferguson. I think we seen the guys that we wanted to step up, but Philly, they just kind of made the plays they needed to make when it was time. And obviously, it was a lot of chatter about, the referees, certain calls like that. Obviously, it was that close. Definitely a game of inches. We'll talk more into that, but huge pivotal calls. But, at the end of the day, we had a chance to win. We was right there, with a chance with the game on the line inside the red zone, and we just didn't make it happen. So I just say shout out to Philly. Hell of a win. We'll see y'all again in, I believe, 4 weeks. But for the most part, like I said, it was a good game on both ends. Hats off to them. Can't say nothing else about it.
I heard something today too. I think Philly has the best record, or has the best record the last 27 games in football. So Philly's cooking, man. They're doing their thing. And as you mentioned with the referees, we ain't got to get too far into it, but I just wish they were way less involved in this game, man. They were involved on both sides. And I'm even going to pull that up real quick. So when you're talking penalties, got it coming right now. 10 for Dallas, 10 for Philly, man. And Philly actually had the worst end of it. 98 yards worth of penalties. Dallas had 83. So yeah, I think you mentioned it, and the referees, man, were way too involved in this matchup.
Yeah, for sure, man. And really it was the most pivotal calls, for us. Obviously, at the end we had our calls that was able to get us down the field. Some of them were good calls, but for the most part, I just feel like it wasn't any clarity as far as them being consistent throughout the game. As far as some of the holding calls. We all know the defensive pass interference, BS, hands to the face. It was a lot of that going on, right? And I think it was pivotal moments that, obviously when we had ours, we wasn't able to put points on the board, and then they was able to obviously extend drives to put points on the board. It was a pretty good back and forth game. Like I said, we just couldn't pull it out in the end. And honestly, like that feel from this, I woke up this morning. Obviously, you want to win those type of games. Obviously, tough game. But I think the feeling coming out of this is like, okay, we right where we need to be. I think we're playing our best football, and I think that's still ahead of us, obviously. And hitting to the stretch is kind of all you want to see. And I think as far as if we want to use that as a measuring stick, we're right there.
Yeah.
Philly just got the better of us. It happens. It's tough to see them go up 2.5 games. I say that. But the way things trending right now, we'll be in the playoffs, and we will continue to see these teams. So we talked about seeing Detroit coming up. We talked about seeing Seattle. Obviously, we'll have to see how we measure up against San Fran again. So that was tough. But right now, as far as us and Philly, we always had these type of battles. But as far as the general feel, I think we'd be okay. We'd be good though.
I do have to say this loss hurt way less than that San Francisco loss earlier in the year, man. That San Fran one, like we needed that. You know what I mean? After the way things ended the last couple seasons. But Philly, they head into their bye week, I believe 8-1, sitting up pretty up at the top of the NFC. We fall to 5-3, but we're still, as you said, I believe the 5th seed. So playoff hopes are still there. We're above 500, but I do. I want to hop into stock up. So last week we mentioned CeeDee Lamb, Tony Ferguson, and Dak Prescott. Obviously, those three balled out again this week. But this week I want to introduce a guy that, has quietly been doing his thing, and that is Cavante Turpin, man. Cavante has been doing his thing. I think that's 2 touchdowns on the year now, maybe 3. but the impact he also has on special teams, man, is phenomenal. I think he's a star in the making. And I think Mike McCarthy is really starting to get the most out of him.
Yeah, I mean, a guy like that, obviously, the playmaker he is, you just want to put the ball in his hands and however you can put it in his hands. And he's been answering that over and over and over. Like every time we give him the ball, he's been making pivotal plays. It just doesn't show up in the box score the way we want as far as the targets and catches. But I think the more that we get deeper into this thing, I think they understand, like, hey, like you said, he has the potential. No, he's not Tyreek Hill, but he has that type of, I guess you could say, skill set to make those same type of plays. You know what I mean? And back-to-back weeks, obviously with the punt returns, man, he's changing the game.
He's
Uh,
electric.
yeah, he's electric, and he's just like a hair away from taking it to the house so many times. So we still waiting on that one breakthrough, but definitely shout out to Kevontae Turpin. You know what I mean? And we'll talk about guys that may be losing some snaps, but I think this is a guy that, got to continue to get his for sure.
Sticking in that position, right? So Michael Gallup. We can just go right into the stock down with that, man. Gallup is not living up to the contract that he was given. I think it was 5 years, 57 million. And this is something you've been calling for a couple weeks now, and I think I'm finally on the train with that. Talk to me a bit about Michael Gallup.
I mean, I really don't know what else, the Cowboys are saying. I think after this week, right, if you continue to put Michael Gallup out there, I think it kind of leads to the conversation of is it politics involved? I mean, of course, you're already paying him.
Right.
Whether he's going to play, you're going to pay him, and whether he's not playing, we're going to pay him regardless, right? But you want to put your best guys on the field, and I think at this point, I'm comfortable with saying he's not a part of that 4 or maybe even 5, like we just talked about Kevontae Turpin. I think he deserves some of those snaps. I think Jalen Tolbert, I think he's shown that in the past couple of weeks. Obviously, he had another solid game. Also was able to get in the end zone, and it just is what it is.
Yeah.
The drop he had, I don't know if it was the very first drive,
I think so.
maybe
3rd and 3 on the first drive.
pivotal. You know what I mean? And you haven't been getting opportunities, let's say in the first place. So maybe you have, you just hasn't been capitalizing. But I think right there was a prime example of, the guy just hasn't been able to get open. And then when you get open, you make plays like that. You haven't been able to capitalize. And we got some fresh blood in there that's waiting in the wings. So I think at this point, just put a Band-Aid off and let's see what happens.
I think, with Gallup and Tolbert, right? So you mentioned you want to see Tolbert out there more. I agree. I don't agree with the shot to Tolbert towards the end of the game there. You got to get the CD Lamb in that situation.
Not only that, get it to CD, but if you was to look at the all 22 and look back at that, Jake Ferguson was wide open across the middle of the field with not only a chance to obviously make a big game right there. I think, you know what I mean, if Dak leads him right, he probably is maybe untouched or he's off to the end zone on that one. So
probably still running.
So it's a tough break, but no, you don't go to Tober right there. You want to go to your best players, and if it's not CD, then obviously Jake Ferguson is the other guy we want to go to. And speaking of him, he's been excelling. More touches. We was able to see more targets with him, and I think you just got to continue to do that. Find ways to get Jake Ferguson the ball. He shows he's another guy that just once you find him, he's productive. And I like Jake.
To stay on Fergie right here, do you think he really is reaching that next level? Do you think he's the number 2 weapon on the offense as far as the passing game is concerned?
Oh, for sure.
Yeah.
I think whatever Gallup targets is, whatever, I think you got to be finding CD in at least north of 11 targets a game. And at this point, I think Jake, you got to give him at least 8 targets a game.
Okay.
You know what I mean? Just that's it. Cooks, honestly, I think we all went into the season thinking he was going to be that guy. And it's cool. We can still continue to sprinkle him in a little bit, but I think Jake Ferguson, he's earned that for sure.
If we could, you get a game ball, you have an excellent game. If we could hand out the opposite for the worst player on the field, man, I think it would have to be Terrence Steele, right? So I would say that he almost single-handedly wrecked shop for us in the fourth quarter, man. Back-to-back sacks given up on his side. Absolute nightmare. And it's Brandon Graham, man. Brandon Graham is like 35, 36, 45. I don't know.
Man, he made him look like prime Brandon Graham,
Right.
man. So it's tough. Just 2 guys back to back. We talked about as far as stock down, right? You give Michael Gallup that contract, and not to jump back and forth, but I just think about, dang, like we could have kept Amari Cooper, right? And you think about Terrence Steele. He had the injury last season. We thought he was rehabbing well. Obviously, they paid up and gave him that deal. So he's up there as far as right tackles. And I don't think you could move off of this contract soon, but I think, you know what I mean, if the best players will play, while I once thought we was looking at the left tackle position with Tyron Smith availability there, see what will happen. I think now you got to take a look at his right tackle position. I think it's
Yeah.
been multiple weeks, and he hasn't been an answer. Honestly, he's just been like a turnstile over there. So, PFF grades for this week for turnstile: 12 pressures allowed, 7 hurries, and 4 sacks in week 9. Terrible, and you can't hide that. It sucks, man.
I believe Dak was sacked 5 times for a loss of 41 yards, and 4 of those came from that right side. That's an absolute nightmare.
Yeah, yeah. So turnstile, stock down.
Yeah.
Right now, you got to give him a chance to rebound, obviously. But hey, look, Chuma Doga, while he's been, a guy that we once didn't think that highly of. I mean, he was able to fill in with Tyron Smith. He looked great on that side. And I think if this continues, before we get too deep into the playoffs and we let a guy like this dictate the game, because he did dictate the game.
Right.
Sacks in the most pivotal moments, especially down at the end. Allowing that sack, that's big. And, you know what I mean? You want your best players to step up. And obviously, you know what I mean? As far as salary wise, he's up there. But as far as the play, yeah, you got to find a way, man.
I do have a bone to pick though with the coaching staff because after he's given up 3 sacks, I mean he gave up back-to-back sacks on that last drive or second to last drive. How is there not tight end help on that side after he's getting demolished on that right side? Is mind blowing to me. So I do have a bone to pick with the coaching staff on that. But we can keep rolling with the stock down. Jay Lou, man. So Jay Lou is out there looking like Kelvin Joseph right now. And we all know what happened with Kelvin Joseph. He got booted to Miami. But Jay Lou on the, what was it, a 3rd and 15, man?
Big.
And that's this play
The
right
biggest.
here with Dallas
Yeah.
Goedert.
Yeah. And that's the game changing plays. You know what I mean? I believe right before that, I think Sam Williams had just got that big sack.
Yep.
That close to obviously taking that in Eagles territory and kind of flipping the switch right there. They come back a play later and they hit Dallas Goedert on this. And really with Jordan Lewis, this is not the first week. We've had discussions about him as well. And it seems like teams are kind of starting to see that. They're starting to look for it. And I think Philly looked for him right away. Jay Lewis just lost a step. It is what it is. He's another player, obviously, that came back and rehabbing. Thought he would return to form, but he just hasn't been answered. Sucks that Trayvon Diggs isn't there. That's supposed to be the wrong brand in that slot. But, right now, and I think you got to kind of look at other options. I ain't even say kind of you do. Obviously, you got Nashawn Wright. But the guy I want to see in there is McQuamo. We seen him come in at the end of last year. Had some solid games, especially in the playoffs. Dan Quinn, that was kind of his special tool in the box late at the end of the year. I think you got to kind of switch it around. I don't want to move the Ron Bland, though. Let's keep the Ron Bland
Right.
where he is. I think he's trending up, but we got to find the answer in that slot for sure.
I was going to say, too, before we even move off of this little stock down, so let me pull up this image on my phone to read to you. So yesterday, week 9, the top 4 receivers, most receiving yards. Did you see this already?
I've seen that.
CeeDee Lamb, Noah Brown, Amari Cooper, Dalton Schultz. Those are our guys, bro. And that's what's crazy. But
Cowboy legends.
did you see the Noah Brown touchdown yesterday?
I did.
Boy, I was cheering for him.
Nah, I mean, Noah Brown is just a guy. I ain't gonna act like we miss him. But it's ironic that they make the plays they made going into that game because boy, we could have needed that. But I think offensively, it was humming.
Yeah.
I mean, if you was to look at the box score and then look at the score, you would think otherwise, right? But yeah, Dalton Schultz, all those guys balled out. But I think the main guy obviously is Amari Cooper Bull. I love to have that right now. So yeah, that's a crazy stat on that day. The top 4 receivers would be obviously former Cowboys, right?
Right. So just talking into the box score a little bit, man. Tony Pollard gets 12 carries and 3 catches, right? So 15 touches for TP is not enough touches for TP, in my opinion. He averaged 4.3 a carry yesterday, and then 4 yards a catch as well. So he's over 4 yards per touch, and he's one of your best playmakers. How have we not featured Tony Pollard a little more this season? I don't get it. Is it the coaching staff? Is it his recovery? Like, has he lost a step? Because I don't think he has. I just don't understand why you franchise tagged a guy and you're not going to get the most out of him.
Yeah. With this one, I would say I agree to disagree. Right. Two things. So I think yes. You look at his average. I think TP for what he did. I think he had a solid game. I think the thing that kind of baffles me a little bit more is, you got a guy like this that can be pivotal in the passing game,
Hmm.
and I think he should get more opportunities there. But if we're just talking about rushing the ball, right? Going with the game script and how weak Philly was in the secondary, we kind of honed on this before the game started. I was completely fine with airing it out. They wasn't really stopping us. If anything, we stopped ourselves. So
Right.
I think as far as like the season goes, yes, he needs more touches. As far as this game, we was attacking the secondary early and often. If anything, I would like to see him a little bit more involved in the passing game, though.
I agree. And it really boils down to, and we talked about it briefly earlier, man. Football is a game of inches, and we came this close so many times, man. Luke Schoonmaker with the TD, and I was so pumped when he caught that ball too. But it's mind blowing the way the instant replay can kick in and turn things around.
that one hurt. It did, and it was so many of these plays, right? Like this one was pivotal. So many times to kind of stamp ourselves, go ahead. Maybe if we get this, we're not going in there looking for the go ahead touchdown. We just looking for three. And then you think about the Dak Prescott, the 2-point conversion where he's just right there. It looks like he's in, and then game of inches, right? He's out right before we get that. It's a 3-point game, and we're not in that situation at the end, right? It's tough, man. And not only that, you think about these plays, you think about Shoemaker, you think about Dak, you think about Philly pretty much in the end zone, their own territory, pretty much having a safety. Micah gets held, no penalty there. That's a 2 points. Cowboys get the ball back. The penalties, man, it was a lot of moments that we could have swung this game, and then to still be down at only 5 points at the very end. I think it shows a lot, you know what I mean, that we were still there. And one thing I don't want to do is get too much into the referees and excuses and stuff like that. Because at the end of the day, I always ask myself or whoever one question. The question is, when the game came down to the end, do we have a chance? And we
Right.
did. And that's all you can ask for. We know the referees has been terrible all year round, and it sometimes it's out of your control. You just got to do your best. But as far as like how I'm feeling and am I impressed? I'm super impressed with Dak Prescott. I,
Yes.
I I will say that. Hell of a game for him and Marquise Bell again. While he may not obviously be in the stock up segment, I think his stock is up as a player. In general, he put another 90-point PF grade again. So I would assume he's still the number one linebacker ranked in PFF right now. And
And
another
that's a
solid game.
safety at linebacker.
Yes, sir. And look, we got some reinforcements. LVE, he'll be back soon, but I want to see him there. I do. And yeah, like it sucks, man. We had this game where we wanted to. Just some pivotal plays that hurt us in the worst moments. Crucial.
A couple things too. So like Marquise Bell, his effort, even on tape, man, he doesn't stop till the whistle blows, and that goes a long way in the game of football. And as you mentioned, his PFF grade has been tremendous. I do want to give a shout out to Blankenship on the Schoonmaker tackle, man. What an effort by him to prevent that, because that looked like a shoe-in touchdown.
Nah, he had a good game. He had a pivotal play on CD early in the game too.
Mm-hmm.
CD gets that. We going for 7 still. So shout out to him, and that's CJ Gardner Johnson replacement. They got him for cheap. He's came over, did a phenomenal job. I think Zach Cunningham, linebacker for the Eagles, he had a solid game. You didn't hear much from Jalen Carter though. I think Tyler Smith, he held his own. He did what he had to do in there. Ty Smith, a solid game from him. Boy, was it good to have him back. And you look at it, Zach, he did Zach things. The reason you didn't hear too much of those big guys up front this game. So I think our interior hit up well. Obviously, the one guy you got to talk about is obviously Terrence Steele. But I mean, you look at it, the Cowboys still haven't allowed a 100-yard receiver
Yep.
or rusher. This season. We wanted to stop Swift. I don't think Swift had a huge game. AJ Brown with the targets he had, yes, he got the his catches on his targets, but he wasn't really the major impact. He didn't get close to 100. Devontae Smith, he outside of that huge catch that he had, you know what I mean? I think Deron Bland held up well. Um, I think what he allowed like four catches and about 9 targets. So solid game for Deron Bland. We held up well for the most part. I think if anything, we just kind of had our, like I said, our worst moments at the most crucial moments, if that makes sense, man. So even Jalen Hurts, I mean, it wasn't like, you know what I'm saying? So all the way around the board, we scored, but they just kind of they made plays when they had to, and we didn't.
I know on the keys to victory we talked about don't let AJ Brown loose. They're gonna work him underneath. They worked him underneath, but we didn't let him get that yak. So he ends the game with what was it, 7 catches, 66 yards. I'm cool with that. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
That's how you stop AJ Brown. It's crazy though because this was definitely a winnable game. I hate Sirianni's energy on the sideline though. It bugs me.
I mean,
It
he
bugs
he
me.
he fits them though.
It bugs me.
You know what I mean? I think Philly embrace him. He's an asshole, but you know they love him over there. I think he fits what Philly like. So um honestly, other than that, like you said, man, it's not like AJ Brown got loose. He got the receptions, but I mean, as far as the yardage, um, it was what it was. Goddard, same thing. 3 catches. He just made plays in those moments. You know what I'm saying? It's like you think about Devontae Smith, like we talked about.
Right.
3 catches for 51 yards. How much came on that one catch?
Right.
And you think about Goddard, you know what I mean, 3 catches for 50 yards. And we talked about J. Lou and the big catches. Those 3 were huge.
Mm-hmm.
The AJ Brown, the yardage that he was able to get on that Stephon Gilmore catch and the yak he got on that, that's a huge chunk of that. And
Yeah.
that's 3 players, and you see the yardage that they have, but 3 huge plays within that yardage. They're pretty much accounting for everything.
Right.
Jalen Hurts, hey, you're gonna have to ice up again, son. I seen you limping.
Right.
You know what I
And
mean?
that shot he took to the knee.
Oh, I mean, fortunate for him. Honestly, as a football fan, I think it's better to have guys like that. We talked about finally getting that Dak and Jalen Hurts matchup. As much as I want to beat him, I don't want to beat him like that.
Right.
So good thing he made out well, but it had a potential to be nasty.
Yeah.
It did initially. So you know, hey, I mean, they got the bye week coming up, but I think that's something that probably will linger. I think he got like a bone bruise, so that'll be around for like the next 4 weeks, and it's gonna get cold outside. They got a tough schedule coming up, Nick. So while it kind of seems out of reach right now, it's the NFL. Strange things happen. They drop a game in here, game or two there. We go on a nice streak here, and then in 4 weeks we may be singing a different tune with possibly another chance to get first place. We only 2 games back, so man, we got a nice little light stretch coming up as well. Starting with the Giants, that's a nice feel
Give
good
me
bounce back
that.
team. Yes, sir.
Give me that.
And speaking of quarterbacks, it sucks that Daniel Jones went out. Obviously, just talked about that. So I'm not looking at that like, yes, Daniel Jones is out. I think we was going to do to them what we was going to do to him always. You
It don't
know what I
matter.
mean?
It don't matter if
It
he's there.
it didn't matter. But for now, Philly remains the class of the NFC East. They'll be up there in conversation whether you feel like it's the Chiefs, the best team, or the Eagles, the best team. Look, we get to figure that out next Sunday, and we'll get our shot again. We'll see them, like I said, in 4 weeks. And then as far as the playoffs, hey, we're gonna be right here and we right there with them. You know what I mean? So as much as you think about it, it's not really a lot of trash talk both ways. Before the game, I said it was quiet. After the game, I mean, honestly, I haven't heard much either. So
Mm-hmm.
why they may not fear us, we don't fear them, but I think we both respect each other in the end. They know down the road, their team that we'll have to deal with when it's time. We just got to play our best football at the best time.
No, I know that's right. One thing, if I can get a vote on the ban of the tush push, I'm gonna vote yes, because that play is impossible to stop.
Yeah.
It's impossible. Seeing it firsthand like that, it's impossible.
Yeah, I mean, bold. I mean, the first drive of the game, I think they're on a 30-yard line, and he goes for it on, was it 3rd and 1?
Yeah.
Fourth and 1.
Yeah.
Yeah. So, I mean, like, that's the type of plays, if you missing that, you get fired, but it shows how much faith they got, and that's an unstoppable play. And not even just 3rd and 1, 4th and 1. I'm talking about 3rd and 2, 3rd and long 2s, close to 3rd and 3. And they still running that play. And it was funny. I seen one of them where Jalen Hurts did it, and Micah, he went for a ride, boy.
I saw
it. He was at the top of the pile surfing, man. And shout out to Micah too. Micah had a hell of a game. Impact plays all the way around the board. You know what I mean? And damn, it just sucks, man. I think our best players play well, and I mean, honestly, if it's anything, that's all you could take away from this one. They just got the better of us on this one.
Absolutely. Now we'll see you in 4 weeks in Dallas, Philadelphia. But thank you for tuning into the End Zone Experience. If you like what you hear, hit that like, share, and subscribe. You got any final words?
Nah, man, it's still the quest for 6. You know what I mean? And it's any given Sunday, man. So let's just put our best foot forward. We got, like I said, we got a nice stretch coming up. And I think we can kind of go 4-0, 5-0 in this one. And on the other side of that, let's just go ahead and continue this quest for 6. It really doesn't matter what we're doing right now. Like I talk about this final stretch and how important that is. It didn't matter if we was going to win. I said it before. It didn't matter if we sweep them. It doesn't matter if we go, let's say 7-0, 8-0 into the playoffs. The same slogan, the same thing is going to be said. Can you do it when it matters most? And while I think we lost this game, it was important to show that we can stick with these teams. And, you know what I mean, as far as the measuring stick, we're right where we need to be. Like Austin said, hit that like, share, and subscribe. We'll be back with another one. Stay tuned.